Do you like to visit the Holy Land? In fact, it was a dream for us and it came true 2 years back. Most of the people who would like to visit the Holy Land associate themselves with the church group or some travel agent. Almost all the travel agents, they take either of the two, traveling from Jordan to Egypt, or they land in Egypt, then trace back to Jordan, either of these. Most of these tour members show most of the places, but at the end of the tour, you will be definitely confused and disoriented. The reason is, they will never show you the places in the chronological order or in the way in which events are recorded in the Bible. They will show the places according to their convenience. So at the end of the tour, instead of understanding the Bible more deeply, you may not have a good picture of the Holy Land visit and understanding of the Bible in your mind. This video is an attempt, based on the videos I have taken, to arrange all these places in a chronological way with some of the important passages from the Bible and a geographical map for you to understand the Holy Land better, the places my Lord has walked, so that it remains in your memory, and whenever you read the Bible, you understand the Bible much. These mountains are called Horeb Mountains. Today you find only rocks here. There is no greenery, there is no river here. You will even surprise at how people lived here. Even livestock will find it difficult to live here. Probably, centuries back the situation would have been much different. Moses lived here for 40 years. He ran away from Egypt after killing an Egyptian. Fearing his life, he came here and lived here for 40 years. He got married to Zipporah, daughter of Jethro, and had 2 sons here. This mountain is also important because Moses encounters God for the first time in this mountain. He saw a fire. He was very curious. He went there and he found the fire is not burning the bush there. Then an angel sound appeared here and talks to Moses. God advises or directs Moses to go back to Egypt, and he goes back to Egypt. Moses comes to Egypt, meets Pharaoh, and demands the release of Israelites. No doubt, Pharaoh did not agree because Israelites were one of the most intelligent, skilled, and hardworking people in the world. Evidence to this is the pyramids. Even today, one of the wonders which you can see in Egypt. Moses argues with the pharaohs, shows some magics, changes his rod into a serpent, turns the Nile River into blood, brings frogs from the sky. Immediately, pharaohs also call his magicians and ask them to do all these tricks, and they also repeat the same. Pharaohs ridiculed Moses and did not allow Israelites to go back. Moses goes back to God, tells him, no, this is not enough. You have to show some more wonders. Then God tells him, directs him to do some more magics there. He brings flies, he brings plague, he brings boils to all over Egypt. In fact, the magicians also got the boils on their body. That's the time they say his God is the real God. And Pharaoh temporarily agreed that you can take them for worshipping God, but not out of Egypt. You cannot take them to the desert. And the ultimate curse on the Egyptians happens. It's called the Passover day, on which the firstborn child of entire family was killed. Throughout Egypt, only cries and sorrow, sadness. That's the time when Pharaoh agrees for taking the Israelis out of Egypt. So now our great epic journey starts here. Moses leads the way. Moses now embarks on the epic journey. He carries the multitude of people with him. But he did not know where to go, how much time it will take, what is the route he should take. He was not knowing about it. God has not revealed that to him. 40 years he traveled through the desert. He wandered in places unknown to him for more than 40 years. The entire life of the multitude of generations, as well as Moses, spent in traveling. At the end, they reached the Canaan, the promised land. But today when you look back, if you know the location or destination where you would like to go, and you have the GPS as well as Google with you, you will definitely ask a question to God. Why you did not take the easiest route available at that time? There was a route, a simple route available which you need not have to cross through the sea, and it will take very short time compared to the 40 years, maybe probably 1 year they would have reached. Moses would have asked, or even all of us would have asked. I am not sure whether Moses will ask about, because Moses trusted God blindly. He believed him totally. So he takes them from Goshen to Behiroth. But you can see the easiest and simple route. I will show it on the map. Egyptians have given Moses for 3 days for pray in the desert, but he does not come back after 3 days, and the Egyptians realize that they are not going to come back. Immediately they follow them. They follow them up to the sea. Here we must realize one thing, that but this is a place where the Egyptians show their vengeance, and their vengeance causes their complete destruction in the sea itself. Moses crosses the sea, travels to Horeb Mountains. From Horeb Mountains, he comes to Sinai province. Sinai Mountains is very popular and very important in the history of the Bible, because Moses goes to Sinai Mountains, fast for more than 40 days, like Jesus fasted for 40 days. He also fasted and with God for 40 days. During the conversations, during the meeting with God, God gives him the rules and regulations to be followed by Israeli people. also, probably they believed Moses and his miracles, but they have not believed or trusted God completely. They strayed from him. They made their own gods and started worshipping. God became very angry and he punishes them also. That's the reason that they had to wander in the desert for more than 40 years. And ultimately, none of the persons of the same generation who was released from the Egypt did not enter the promised land. Entire life, their entire life they walked, entire life they traveled, but ultimately they could not see the destination which is promised by God.
This is the starting point of our journey. This place is called Nebo Mountains in Jordan. This place is very important because Moses was told by God that you can see Canaan or Israel from this place. Because he was not allowed to enter, he got a glance of the promised land from here. In fact, we also had a look at that place from the edge of the mountain, and while I was looking through the camera, I could see a mysterious hand in my camera, a big hand. I will show you later on in the video the hand which I have seen through my camera. From here we traveled to Israel and to Egypt by bus. Next stop is at Nazareth. Nazareth is a place where Jesus spent his life, his childhood. As a child, Jesus was one of the brilliant, obedient, a lovable boy. In fact, he used to go to the church every Saturday, and the elders used to astonish at his intelligence and knowledge. They even made a remark, a sarcastic remark, that any good thing, can it come from Nazareth? Nazareth they have considered as a place of carpenters, maybe people which are of less important in social life. And nobody in the world You cannot find any person in the world who does not know the place called Nazareth. The most interesting thing which I read in Bible is that the person who recognized and called Jesus as man from Nazareth is Satan. Satan is the first person to realize this. From Nazareth, we are now proceeding to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is an important city in the history itself for two reasons. One, three religions started from here: Christianity, Muslim, and Judaism. Second, most of the important events take place in and around Jerusalem, and many of the places which are recorded in the Bible is around Jerusalem. Events like Jesus' trial and crucifixion, Sermon on the Mount, temptation, the Mount of Temptation, all these places are around Jerusalem. So we will have a lot of things to see here in and around Jerusalem. One of the most important place to see in Jerusalem is the Jerusalem temple. Today you can see only the remains of the Jerusalem temple, one wall standing there, and we are allowed to go there, and you can see many people visiting there and offering their prayers, including the Judeans. They come there and offer the prayers to God. You are also allowed to go there and even you can place your prayers on a paper in the slot given to you. Jordan River is near Jericho, which flows near to the Jerusalem. In this river only Jesus took baptism from John. And after the baptism, he goes alone to this mount and fast for 40 days. After the fasting prayers for 40 days in this mountain, Satan comes to him and carries out the 3 temptation tests. The 3 temptation tests recorded in the Bible includes all kinds of temptations in the world. And Jesus wins Satan over his test. After that, Jesus goes back to Nazareth and Galilee, where he starts his public ministry. If you look at the 40 days of fasting, the number 40 has got some importance in Bible. In the Old Testament you can see rains fell for 40 days during Noah's period. Moses lived in the Horeb mountains for 40 years. Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years. And Jesus spent 40 days on earth after the resurrection and before ascension to heaven. So this number 40 find some importance in Bible.
We are now going to an interesting place, an important place which is mentioned many times in the Bible, Sea of Galilee. In fact, it is not a sea, it's a lake, it's a freshwater lake. Sea of Galilee is very important because there are many events, many incidents in and around Galilee. Jesus walking on the sea, Peter sinking in the Galilee Sea, Peter catching tremendous amount of fish in the Galilee Sea, Jesus feeding more than 5,000 people on the shores of Galilee Sea. Like this, there are several incidents. Fishing is one of the most important occupation here. They have arranged a boat trip in the Sea of Galilee for 1 hour, and at the end of it, they have taken us to a restaurant where they served a meal with a fried fish supposed to be caught from this lake. Sea of Galilee is an interesting place to see in the entire journey. Next stop is at a place called Capernaum. This is a place where Peter lived here. The village of Peter is still preserved here with a glass case. And I will show in my camera the remains of that particular village. Peter has been a very fascinating character in the Bible. A simple fisherman gets transformed step by step to a great orator at the end, walking with my Lord. In fact, I had the opportunity to see St. Petersburg, the church where his body was cremated in Rome, a fantastic church. When I saw that church and when I saw this place, vivid memories passed through my memory. When I saw St. Petersburg as well as this place, I have just recollected the passages in the Bible where Peter gets transformed into a complete devotee of Jesus Christ. This is a place where he started his great journey with my Lord. Capernaum.
We are now proceeding to a mountain called Mount of Beatitude. This is the famous place from where Jesus has given the most popular speech in the Bible, Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount is a fully loaded speech. It takes time for you to understand, and More and more you study, more and more you understand that. One side of the mountain you can see the lake, the other side is the city. Today you can see a church, a peaceful, serene church here, and a beautiful garden on the Mount of Beatitude. The word spoken from this mount is like a torch. If you put the torch inside your body, your entire body will light up. And more power you give to that torch, more and more light you will throw. And more light you throw, you see much more and you see more clear. This is the crux of Sermon on the Mount. I am reproducing the 7 sentences, 7 statements given by Jesus at various times. These 7 statements are fully loaded, powerful sentences. Try to meditate these sentences and try to understand the meaning of this. That's the way you take the torch inside your body. We are now proceeding to another mount called Mount of Transfiguration. This is a place where Jesus gets strengthened by the 2 prophets, Moses and Elijah. In fact, even the disciples also saw the prophets as well as heard the voice of God. That has strengthened them further. Let me tell about our tour. We traveled with a group of 45 people. People from Delhi. We traveled from Delhi. So some people were from Delhi and some people from in and around Delhi, Lucknow. And some people joined at Kuwait. We traveled from Delhi to Kuwait and some people joined at Kuwait. And then all of us traveled from Kuwait to Amman by flight. After landing in Amman, we took a bus. And from there we traveled the entire journey up to Egypt by bus only. In our group, some people came from abroad. One priest who is working in England also joined us. Basically, he is from Bangalore, but presently working in England. And another priest and his family from Mangalore, they were also in our group. Every day morning we used to have a prayer before starting the journey, and the youngsters used to sing a song during our travel. It was definitely a peaceful journey. In every place we used to have a different gate. In Jordan we had a different gate, and once we crossed Jordan and reached Israel, there also we had a different gate from the local side. And he traveled with us up to Egypt, and Egypt we had a different gate. All places they put us in good hotels, a 3-star or 4-star accommodation with breakfast, and the food was slightly different, but it was quite good, and there was absolutely no issue at all. But going alone may be a difficult proposition in seeing the Holy Land. It is better to go along with the group, because we have seen on the day of our visit around 40 buses were there. People from various places all over the world were traveling to Israel to see Holy Land and understand the places where Jesus walked and preached. I did not know that the Last Supper as well as the Pentecost happened in the same building. We are now going to see that building where these two events have happened. 2-3 other groups are also there with us. Maybe we get the opportunity after they complete the visit. Before we enter into this building, I could see a beautiful statue of David here. I don't know whether I have that photo with me. If it is there, I will show it to you in my video. The same building, on the top, they have kept the impression of Jesus' foot, a footprint impression, which was supposed to have been created when he ascended to heaven. And we will visit that place also before we leave this building. When I ruminate the Last Supper portion, I always used to wonder how Jesus could look at that person and behave to him quite normally and love him normally, though he knew Judas is going to betray him. When I ruminate the Last Supper portion, what is interesting to me is the behavior of Jesus in that particular event. He knew Judas. He knew Judas is going to be the betrayer. Without any hatred, with full compassion and love, he talks to him and he behaves normally in front of Judas as well as all other disciples. That is something fantastic. That is something, an example which we have to emulate. That you should be able to look at the eyes of your most hated person with love and compassion. That's what he taught us in this event to us. Jesus' last personal prayer was in a garden called Gethsemane Gardens. Gethsemane is located just below the Olive Mountains. You can see a small garden fenced all the four sides and a church inside, a beautiful church. The other side of the garden is not open to the visitors. We can see these olive trees, which are supposed to be the trees from the Jesus period. This garden witnessed one of the most cruel arrest of an innocent person in the night. Even those days, like our present time, nobody should be arrested after dusk. But Jesus was arrested in the mid of night. An innocent man who served the poor, brought vision to the blind, brought hearing to the dumb, healed all the sick people who were brought to him, has been arrested and taken for trial from here. The most interesting aspect of this particular garden is from here you can see the Jerusalem city as well as the Jerusalem temple from here. He was betrayed by one of the closest persons of Jesus Christ, the Judas, one of the disciples. Probably Jesus cried in the Gethsemane garden with pain, not because of the impending death, maybe because of the betrayal by the loved ones, the ones who were very close to him. That would have definitely pained Jesus Christ much more than anything else. We have also seen many cases of betrayal by the close people. But we will not see a situation where the betrayed person was there alive and not even a single word of accusation by Jesus Christ against that person in the trial. And he did not even allow his own disciples to fight against the people who came to arrest him. That kind of situation you can never see in the history at all. That makes the Gethsemane garden and the beginning of the trial the very important one. During the prayers, Jesus surrenders totally to his Father. An absolute surrender. Complete obedience to his Father. We can see a similar incident in the Old Testament when Abraham takes his son for offering to God. We are about to see the most important place of the Holy Land visit, the crucifixion place as well as the tomb of Jesus Christ. The way leading to the tomb of Jesus Christ, it's almost 50 meters or 75 meters length, and both sides of this road you can see buildings, and one side of the wall is marked with even numbers from 1 to 12. These events are the important incidents which took place when Jesus carried his cross after the trial from Pilate's courtyard to the Golgotha. There is nothing much to see actually in these places. But when you walk through this place, imagining that your Lord has walked with his cross on his shoulder, knowing that he is going to die on the cross, gives you some kind of a different feeling. That makes the difference when you walk through this place. And that picture, when it comes to your mind, you get a different feeling when you walk through this place.
Okay? A very big cross and heavy cross. So it was very hard to move from one place to another. Okay? So when he was turning, he was falling. The fourth station is when his mother, the sixth station, saw him and she will feel Veronica. Okay? Yes. She will proceed to the fifth station. Okay? Are we all here? Yes. Jesus' face was depicted on the sheet itself. Okay? It's commemorated here in this church. Station number 2. Station number 2 is when he carried the cross and starts his way of sorrow from here. Okay? From here we will go now. They have a church here, and they have a church for station number 1 on that other side, that tower. That's station number. They commemorated there. Okay? But the actual place that you can see here, this is station number 2. Let's go on. Okay, guys, here we are near the 8th station, and this is when the sisters of Zion will see Jesus, and he will tell them, don't cry for me, cry for yourself. Yes. The right side, we see the Golgotha.
The tomb is located in a beautiful church, extremely beautiful, adorned with many lamps as well as bells. It's a round church, and you have been given a particular time to go and enter into that tomb. Only one person is allowed inside the tomb, so one by one in a queue goes inside and comes back. No camera is allowed inside. The volunteers are there on both sides, and they ask you to put down your camera before you enter the tomb. Once you are inside the tomb, you can kneel down, pray for 5 seconds or 2 seconds, and then you have to come out immediately. But that church and place is extremely beautiful, very serene, and it's a different feeling, and it's a different sight to see.
Station number 11, when he is crucified on the cross. Station number 12, when he dies on the cross. Station number 13, when they take him away from the cross, and they will anoint him, and then they will bring him from there to be buried here. Okay? This building that we see around us is not, of course, the building that was during Jesus' time, because Jesus was crucified on a Friday. And the traditions in that time was a Jewish tradition. They don't bury people in Shabbat. Shabbat will start on Friday evening. So they were in a hurry to bury him before the Shabbat starts. So, yes. So, a rich man will come and will give him, because this rich man will prepare for himself a place to be buried in. His name is Joseph of Arimathea. Okay? Yes. He will prepare for himself a place to be buried, but let's walk. And listen. Yes. So when we all finish visiting the tomb,
We are seeing it from outside. We cannot take the photos inside.
a small chapel, closed, and we will see on the floor a rock that has the footprint of Jesus. It's believed traditionally that it's the footprint of Jesus. So from here, he ascended to heaven. Around it, you'll find a Byzantine church and more than one church. This one that is say that. Okay? Now let's go there. But from this side, please.
ജീസസിന്റെ തൊട്ടം
Before I close this video, I thought I must add one more chapter about the trial of Jesus Christ. Jesus was arrested in the middle of night. Those days, nobody was supposed to be arrested in the night, but he was arrested against the law. He was betrayed by his own close people and then brought to Ananias. Ananias was the father-in-law of Caiaphas. Ananias' two sons were also priests. Remember, Jesus was a big revolutionary. He spoke against the priests who were exploiting the poor people at that time. He spoke and criticized all these priests against their wrong practices of the law. So these priests were always against Jesus Christ because this man was always pointing his fingers to the priest. And Ananias, being the father-in-law of the chief priest as well as the father of two sons, he did not even ask for the reasoning behind Jesus Christ's arrest, or he did not even ask his defense. Instead, he allowed him to be tried. Jesus then was brought to Caiaphas. Caiaphas was supposed to be the chief priest. He is supposed to be like a judge. He should hear both sides and take a stand on it. But here what we see, that when other people did not accuse Jesus on any count, he leads or even he accuses Jesus directly, which he should not have done. It is a biased approach by a chief priest here. He then calls the Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is supposed to be the jury there. Jury is supposed to be totally independent. They should analyze the facts and figures. They should hear the defense of the person and then they should take a decision. But in this jury, the maximum or majority of people are consisting of the priests from the Parsis. Around 26 to 28 people are from the Parsi side, which are the priests. The only two people who were absent, supposed to be absent in the Sanhedrin, in the jury which was held in the night, was Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. They were also members of this council, but they were deliberately absent because they secretly followed Jesus Christ and did not want to be part of his crucifixion. Here you can see a one-sided approach against Jesus Christ. They have come with a clear mission in their mind that he has to be killed. But the only problem here was Caiaphas did not have the power to kill a person. He cannot give a verdict for the death of a person. It can be given only by the governor of that period. That is why he leads the Sanhedrin to say that let him be brought to the governor. He was brought to the governor Pilate. Pilate, right from the beginning, we can see that he is not convinced that Jesus Christ has done some crime. He finds him totally innocent right from the beginning. He was unbiased. There is no doubt about it. But Caiaphas and his gang changed their stand. When it was blasphemy was the accusation, when it was brought to Sanhedrin, here they changed their stand and accused him that he is plotting against the government of Roman government. They changed their stand and tried to make an accusation in such a way that he is a threat to the Pilate as well as the Roman government. But he did not see any important point in their argument. So he says, let him be sent to the Herod. Herod was supposed to be there at that point of time. And since Jesus was from Nazareth and Herod was in charge of Nazareth, he should be sent to Herod, the king. King was interested in seeing Jesus Christ because he heard many stories about Jesus Christ, that he has converted water into wine and then he brought people from death to life. He has given vision to the blind person. Like this, he heard many stories and he wanted to see some magic from him. Jesus kept total silence in front of the king. We must also observe that why Jesus kept total silence here, though he knew that this man had the power or authority to release him, but he did not say any single word. Probably he knew that he is the king who beheaded John the Baptist. Keeping silence in the court when the argument is against you, plotting against you for your death, keeping silence is very, very difficult. I am a person who has raided many companies, who has misused the BIS mark. And after the raid, the case is filed in the court and I had gone to the court for the argument, and many times when I stand there, the argument takes place. But and almost all the time, I did not feel any difference standing in the court and arguing for my case, because I understood that the verdict in this favor or not in his favor is not going to affect me personally. When the verdict is not going to affect you personally, even if you stand silent, it doesn't matter. But here it is not like that. The verdict is almost clear, but Jesus kept absolute silence in front of him. That is something astonishing to me. He is brought back to Pilate again, and the priest led by Caiaphas forced him to give the death penalty for him. And Pilate did it because he was afraid of his own position. If you look at Pilate, this decision taken by Pilate was totally selfish. Though he knew that he is an innocent man and he cannot be punished, and he tried his level best actually to see that he is released without a serious punishment, but ultimately he surrenders to the mob because he was very selfish to hold his position there. And I believe totally that Jesus did not get a fair trial. If you look seriously into all the incidents which took place here in that night, mind that everything is happening on one night, from the dusk to early morning, that his arrest, death, his argument, his trial at various places, and the verdict is over. In the history, I don't think any such incident has happened. You cannot see a single incident in the history where a person has been given the order for death after a trial in the night itself. This trial is one of the most cruel, biased trial in the history.